In our previous video, we went over how to establish DR replications between our on-prem and cloud-based services. In this particular video, we'll cover how to initiate a failover or to test a failover to ensure that our services are working the way we anticipate. So to begin, I'm going to log into vCloud Director, and as you see here, I have one VM that's running in my environment. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to log into our vCloud Availability plugin. It will navigate to Incoming Replications on-prem. As you see here, we have one incoming replication from our on-prem location called Ubuntu 255. So to begin, what we're going to do is we're going to select Ubuntu 255 and we're going to test the failover. In our particular case, we want to power on the recovered VMs. We are going to connect it to one of our existing networks. We have the option of setting one of our recovery objects or recovery instances, but in our particular case, we want to ensure that it's up to date. So we're going to synchronize the VM to their current state, and we're going to start the failover. So as you see here, the failover is started. We're doing some testing to ensure that everything is working, and our recovery state is changing to failed over. Now that the test failover has occurred, you can see here that our status has changed overall health of green and our test image is ready. So now what we're going to do is we're going to jump back over into vCloud Director and we will refresh the page. And as you can see, we now have two VMs. We have Ubuntu 128.01, which was the one that was previously running, along with Ubuntu 255.01. So now that this machine has been instantiated and powered on, we'll go under Actions and launch Web Console. And as you can see, the machine is now booting up. Now the machine is online and we will log in. And everything looks good. Now remember, this is a test instance, so you can play around with it, you can log in, you can check to make sure that services are running, you can ensure that configurations have all been migrated. But at this stage, we'll assume that everything is good and it's operating the way we anticipate. So we'll log out of the console. And the next thing we'll want to do is we'll want to remove this test instance. So the easiest way to do that is by going back over to the vCloud Availability plugin. You can see we are running in a test image. So the thing we'll want to do is we'll want to clean up the test and all artifacts associated with the test. And the way to do that is by clicking on the image, click Test Cleanup, and now vCloud Availability will go through and remove all images and artifacts associated with that test instance. And we're back to a recovery state of not started. Now, one thing I will point out in our particular case is we did do a test failover. So the original VM remained intact and continued to be up and running while we created a new instance in our sandbox in VCD. In the case where you actually want to do a failover, instead of clicking on the test failover button, you'll actually click on the failover button, and this will actually instantiate the new instance in vCloud Director and shut down the instance in vSphere. So that's really the only two differences between the two is in one particular case, both instances continue to run. In the failover case, one instance is shut down while the other continues to run. Now, one additional thing I'll point out is you'll notice that during the test failover, we selected what networks we wanted to connect to. But what if we want to change the behavior of our networking as part of the as part of the instantiation in the new environment? To do this, what we'll do is we'll click on the VM and we'll select Networks. And within networks, we have the ability to make some changes. So first thing you'll notice is we have the ability to make configuration changes based on a migration or a failover. And then we also have the ability to make it for when we instantiate a test. So like if we have a specific sandbox that we want to be able to instantiate in that may be isolated, we can select that to occur in a test scenario versus in a production scenario. The other thing you'll notice is that if we want to do everything on a holistic perspective, we can apply this across all the apps. And we can also select which mode we'd like to be able to instantiate or to set up. We can set it up to run as a static IP pool. If we're running DHCP, we can select DHCP and it'll apply to all VMs that are a part of this particular workflow. In our particular case, you can see here during a migration, we're selected none unless we specifically select that during the workflow. And same goes with test. The other thing you'll notice is we can go on a per VM basis and select it to apply to on a per VM basis, but we can also expand the VM and go on a per NIC basis. So if we have multiple NICs that need to be connected to multiple networks, we can select that. And in the same way we could before, we can connect to specific networks. And we can also select specific behaviors. So in the case where we want a specific VM or a series of VMs to be able to connect to certain networks or to have multiple NICs that connect to different networks to reset MACs, etc., we do have the ability to go in and control our network settings on a per VM basis all the way down to the per VNIC level. Hope that helps. Please feel free to review any of our additional videos that cover vCloud availability. Thank you.